Hi guys, so in this video I want to show you how I managed to implement a JWT authentication method to my RESTful API, and I just want to show how to do it because there aren't many resources that show you the exact way to do it. But anyway, first thing, well, it's not really organized, this program, but I've got it all in one file just for this, for the tutorial of this, for the purpose of this tutorial. And first thing I've done is I've created a private key path and a public key path, and these are paths to two keys which I have here, which I've generated, and these basically sign your token. So you're going to want to create these, and to create these you just want to go in the description and look at a few shell commands I'm going to add there, which should be openssl, etc. So in the description you'll find a way to easily generate these RSA files to sign your tokens. And then here we've got two variables which are a slice of byte, which over here we're gonna add. So the sign key is gonna be in charge of signing the private key, so it's gonna hold this one, and then the verify key, which is the public one, this is gonna do all the proper signing. It's gonna have the public key path, which is this one. So anyways, so this is a small my way of just initializing all the keys and passing them, and I'm doing that using ioutil.read file, which is part of the standard library. And then in my main function I'm doing the init keys, and then I'm gonna kick off the server, which I've included in this function. Pretty self-explanatory what I have here. So as JWT implies, that it's there to protect your RESTful resources. So here I've got a public endpoint, so you don't need JWT Authentication to access this. You can access this via a post request, which we'll see down here, login handler. And this is basically going to get JSON data which is posted. And then here we have a protected endpoint, which is /resource, and here we just, which I'll explain in a second, we're using the Negroni package, and we're gonna wrap this handler, so this one, our protected handler, with some middleware which we've created down here, which I'll show you in a second. So yeah, this is pretty much how to protect your resource. But where all the down here we kick off the server. This is just some handling stuff. So all the magic occurs in the login, because this is where we have to create the JWT token. So if you go to the login handler, which is down here, it takes the usual response writer and request. We've created a struct user credentials, which is simply username and password in this JSON format. And then what we're going to do is get the JSON from the body, and we're going to decode it into this user struct. Then obviously we'll do some error handling. We'll print the name down here, the details we got. Here this is where you'd perform your user validation. So I've got some basic validation here. So the username has to be equal to Alex Cons and the password kappa123. Okay, so if obviously the details are not valid, then we're going to return to the user invalid details, and we're going to return, so this function stops. But then here's where the magic happens. To create the JWT token, we create a signer, which is you can do by doing jwt.new, and inside we're going to get a signing method of rs256. This is the algorithm I've used, which is correspondent with these RSA keys. And here we're setting the claims of the signer, and probably the most important part is the exp. This is the expiration time. So I've made it so that it expires in 20 minutes. So this, after 20 minutes, this JWT token will expire and obviously not work, and then the user would have to log in again. And then we're signing the token using the sign key, which is holding the data in this one. Then error handling, and then what we're going to do is just create a JSON response, which is a small helper function I've done, which takes the response and it just writes the JSON back. Okay, now let's take a look at well, actually, before we look at the protected resource, let's actually see this in action. So I'm going to use Postman, which is a quite nice way to test your APIs. So I'm going to send to my login page, to my login endpoint. It's a post request, and with these details. So my username AlexCons, password, this should be kappa123 for it to work. And then if we send, if we look at our response, we get a JSON response of including a token which holds this string, and this would be your JWT token. For example, in my case, when I was building a mobile backend, what I would do is store this in the mobile app, and then when I want to access the resources, then include it. So I'm going to copy this token, and now if we go to our protected resource, so this is the thing, the way you have to wrap it, your handler, if you're using the Negroni middleware package, and we're telling it to use the validate token middleware, which I've written down here, and all this simply does is check if the token, it passes the token from the request. Then it checks if the token is valid, then it's going to perform the next handler func, which is indeed our protected handler, which is over here, and it's just going to say gained access to protected resource, and it's just going to write the JSON back. So if I go Postman, now I send a GET request to our resource, and to send a GET request, to send a JWT, if you go, so the way you add is your header has to be authorization, and then it's got to have bearer, space, and then the token. Now if you click on send, body, gained access to protected resource. If we don't have this header and we send unauthorized access to this resource. So that's how I implemented JWT into a simple RESTful API. I'm going to leave the code on my GitHub so you can check it out in more detail. But yeah, hope you found this video useful, and see you next time for another video.